Hey guys, my name's Adam and I'm here with Lovecrafts, going over some embroidery basics. In this video we're going to be looking at all of the materials that you might need as a beginner embroiderer to get started with your embroidery journey. Typically with an embroidery fabric, we would look at a linen or a calico cotton. It's a nice substantial fabric, it's cheap and affordable, and it supports your stitches really well. The fabric that we have here today is a linen. It's a very traditional embroidery fabric. It works well in pretty much all hoops. It's nice and robust, so that's always a good starter fabric to use. Next we will look at some scissors. Any good crafter always has a pair of tailor's shears or a nice sharp pair of fabric scissors that you're not allowed to let anybody cut paper with. These are always going to be reliable. There's always an investment piece that you're never going to be without, really. They're perfect for cutting the fabrics. We would also always have a pair of embroidery scissors. They're usually to have a shorter blade, which is perfect for cutting thread. It's a bit different from fabric, so they're a little bit more delicate and better for finer detail sort of cutting pieces. So these are a pair of bow scissors. I have dozens of pairs of scissors myself, but a good sharp pair of embroidery scissors are always going to be a vital tool in any crafter's kit. Next we will look at embroidery hoops. Have a variety of different sized hoops here. The brands don't really matter a great deal. The key thing with a good embroidery hoop is a nice wood. Hoops that are wood will grip your fabric really well. You don't really need to do anything to them. They come in a very large variety of sizes, even different shapes. You can get oval hoops. These ones are all good basics for you to get started. Next, we're going to look at some needles. A good embroidery needle will always tell you on the packet if it is designed for embroidery or crewel work. The key difference between an embroidery needle and a basic sewing needle is an embroidery needle will have a much larger eye to it, which allows you to thread the needle much more easily, particularly if you're working with stranded cottons where you've got multiple threads. It can be really fiddly to thread otherwise, so a good embroidery needle will have a nice big eye which makes it much easier for you. Next we will look at some threads. On this skein we have some DMC stranded cotton. There's lots of different brands of cottons. The stranded ones are particularly good for embroidery because it allows you to split the threads. So if you have different stitches that you want to be working on, it's very easy to be very flexible with the size and the length of stitches that you're doing if you break them down by the strands. I will typically take a skein like this and wrap it onto a reel. Makes it much easier for you. If you just work from a skein, you're pretty much guaranteed to get a knot. So putting it on a reel, it may take a little time, but it saves you thread in the long run, and they're a great investment. You can get lots of plastic or card ones. They're very cheap again, really useful tool in an embroiderer's kit. You can also get other pearl sort of cotton threads. They're typically a single thread that is slightly thicker. They're also very good for embroidery, but a good stranded thread will give you a lot more versatility. So it does depend on what it is that you want to actually do, for which thread to select. Next, we will look at some transfer tools. Basic tracing paper that you can get from any good stationery shop, and a pencil, nice sharp pencil, are a great reliable way to transfer designs onto your fabric. It works in a very similar way to you may have iron-on transfer paper, which is another common tool in embroiderer's kit for transferring designs onto fabric. You can either draw or print directly onto the paper, and it transfers your design onto the fabric for you to just work straight from the pattern. My personal favourite method for transferring designs onto fabric is an air or water soluble pen. They allow you to either draw freehand directly onto your fabric, or you can use tracing paper and trace a design directly onto the fabric. They're a great tool. They disappear either over time in the air gradually, or if you want to immediately erase the lines, you can just soak them in some water. Your lines immediately disappear and you're just left with your embroidery work. They're super useful and versatile, and I would really recommend investing in a couple of these. They go a really long way. Another method that you can use for transferring designs onto your fabric is a water-soluble stabilizer, which is a transparent fabric. It looks a little bit like tracing paper, but it's very supple, and you can print directly onto it and have it on the surface of your fabric and stitch directly through the fabric and the stabilizer. And then once you're finished with your piece, you can soak the fabric in water and the stabilizer just vanishes like magic. Again, it's another really useful material to use, particularly early on as a beginner when you may not have as much confidence with transferring designs. It's a really useful tool. That just about covers all of our basic materials that you're going to need as a beginner embroiderer. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.